What up? What up? What up?
Yo, what's going on, man?
Ain't nothing much, man. As y'all know, we're back again, another Tuesday. Um, Gonna have a very, 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 very special guest today. I'm getting straight to the point today because I've been waiting on this for like 2 years. So, very special guests. Of course, they're my coaches. Since y'all wanted to brag last time, I got to put it out there. They're the coaches of the Yorton Cup Men's Physique Champion. We're gonna go ahead and give the preview real quick. So I got a quick video for you guys, but this is and we are here. Hey, we got the whole Maxi thing going on right here. I like it.
Dang, dang, I was ready.
I got my
And
name.
we didn't plan this, but yeah, I'm gonna let you guys briefly, or not even briefly, just go ahead and introduce yourself. I tell my guys that you're the best kept secret, but now we're gonna have to let everybody know who you are.
Would you like me to go or you want to go?
No, go ahead.
All right, so we are Team Cook Fitness. Eric knows us really well as bodybuilding coaches. We do a little bit more than that. Started off coaching when I got out of the Marine Corps in about 2011. And at that point, it was just some general population, lifestyle clients, just people that want to get in shape. But I had a passion for bodybuilding, so I started training so that I could compete one day. And over time, it's take forever. Eric makes fun of me for talking too much, so I won't say much. But like over time, it's grown into now we own a gym here in Greensboro, North Carolina. I met Marianne during that time, and here we are. We've got guys like Eric make us look like we know what we're doing, and some lifestyle clients that have lost a couple 100 pounds to make us look like we know what we're doing, but really we're just normal people. We're nothing special.
And I'm Marianne. I got into bodybuilding kind of through some rehab that I was going through, I guess, like early college. I had some knee issues that I was rehabbing. And at that point, I really didn't know much about bodybuilding. I was not really athletic growing up. I was a musician growing up that he makes fun of me for all the time. But so I'm definitely more art minded. But once I started learning more about the anatomy and rehabbing those injuries, that's kind of how I fell in love with it and realized that I actually had some potential. And so um, I didn't start personal training right away. That came a little bit later. In 2013 was when I started working with him at a gym. And early 2017 is when we launched ourselves as Team Cook Fitness. And during the pandemic was when we opened up our gym called Independence Fitness. So that's where we are now. I also have a side business doing laser engraving. So that takes up a lot of my time now, but so he still sees a lot of people in person. We have tons of clients online. All of mine are online currently. I mostly just work with athletes though, and he does some, powerlifters. I don't think we have any CrossFitters right now.
Not currently.
So we do dabble in a few different sports, not just bodybuilding, but also a lot of lifestyle clients like you mentioned.
Gotcha. I'm gonna let Jamal start this one off. I know he's gonna come with some good ones, so I'm gonna let him start it off.
No, I'm not. Well, Jeff, first and foremost, man, thank you for your service. I had no idea that you was in the Marine Corps, so thank you for your service.
I appreciate it. Thank you for the support.
So with that being said, I was in the Army, and I knew like some of the habits that I picked up in the Army, they transitioned to the bodybuilding world for me, like getting up early, lifting weights, just having that resilience to keep on going. Did that happen for you? Like, did you take some of the habits you learned from the Marine Corps and take them into bodybuilding?
Yeah, absolutely. The discipline too, especially in the Marine Corps, is another level. And there's the running joke of all the branches make fun of each other, who's the most elite, and like everybody has their SF groups. But I can say without a doubt, like I've worked with several different branches. I haven't had much time with the Navy, but definitely the Army National Guard, and the Air Force. At the lower level, like the infantry guys, I was a machine gunner. And so within the Marine Corps infantry, it is definitely the most extreme level of like regiment and discipline. And You call people by their rank. We don't, if there's a platoon sergeant, you ain't calling him Sarge. And like in the Air Force, they were just on a first name basis. In the Army, a lot of times it was, hey, Sarge. In the Marine Corps, it's, hey, Sergeant, hey, whatever your name is, Sergeant, whatever, whoever it is. It's always another level of respect. And I think the fact that they command that from guys can kind of instill or give guys another level of regimen and routine and discipline. But I think a lot of people actually struggle when they get out because they lose that. And so bodybuilding, I think, is a good way for a lot of guys to kind of give themselves something to just, that still getting up early in the morning, still PT and still doing all the things you were doing back then. I definitely think some of that carried over, but bodybuilding is a lot harder, I think, mentally. Similar to boot camp in the Marine Corps. Like, yeah, it's physically demanding, but like if you go in as a PT stud already because you were a high school athlete or a college athlete, some of them, like the PT's not really that hard, but the mind games they play with you are just over the top. I had a drill instructor one time where I laced and unlaced my boots for, I swear, what felt like 6 hours. Like my fingertips were raw at the end of the day. And I think those are the things that you carry over most because you learn how to deal with that mental, I don't even know what you want to call it, when you're competing and you're in prep and you're like, wow, everything sucks. But you just got to do it if you want to be successful. So you just keep doing it. And I think that's what carries over is the mental toughness and the regimen that you have, not so much the physical or the physicality of being in the military.
Absolutely. Great.
All right, so I'm gonna give Marianne the mic. She's sitting over
Hey,
there.
real quick. Hey, Jamal, I didn't know you were in the Army, so I appreciate your service, man. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm gonna give Marianne the floor, and to have both of you guys, like I said, I know, of course, how much you guys do on the day to day and things of that nature. But this is, I guess, a question for both of you guys. But how do you guys juggle, kids, family, coaching in person, running businesses on the side? Like you do it all. So how do you guys juggle all that and still establish a team that we have? And we'll get to the depth of the team, but establish everything you guys got going on, basically.
Barely.
God is the answer.
That is the answer. Yeah. A lot of prayer, and I'm not just saying that as an easy answer, but this is really something I struggled with for many years. So we have a now 9-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son. They are both in school. They both are athletes, so we're very busy even with their athlete schedule, their game schedule and meet schedule and practices and stuff on top of bodybuilding and the gym and coaching and engraving. So it is a lot, which is why we haven't been able to meet up with you guys in a couple of years. We just haven't been able to make that time. But yeah, I have to have really regimented wake up time, sleep time, Bible study time, training time, meal prep, everything. I mean, everything really does come down to the minute for us. And I mean, we have to budget our time the same way we budget our macros, same way we budget every penny that comes in. So everything we do really has to be that strict. And I have really bad ADD. So it does not come naturally for me at all. And, but it's also why we work so well together as a pair, because where I lack, sometimes that's his strengths and vice versa. So, when we need to.
She threw in that sometimes that's his strength.
Well, it depends on what the weakness is.
It's true. It's true.
But there's definitely a flow. And so just having open communication with each other about like where we're struggling and where we need to improve, like that's pretty much a daily conversation for us. So over the years, we have implemented a lot of schedules and routines and stuff, but it's forever changing.
This is definitely the stuff that carries over from the military for me. It's less about being an athlete or a bodybuilder and more about just being a husband, a father, and a coach and a friend, and all these different things to my clients. I call it controlled chaos. And I'm sure you've probably heard that, Jamal, in the Army. Like, I thrive in that. Most people, they panic, it worries them. And I do have my moments where I get to the point where I'm like, man, I've got too much on my plate and I'm about to freak out, walk me off the ledge. But it's nowhere near as often as it is for the average person because, like she mentioned, you just always have a plan. And everybody's like, well, what happens when the plan fails? It's like, you should know it's going to fail. Like, no plan ever goes perfectly. You just be ready to, you call an audible and you run the next play. Like, you just bounce off of it. And then whatever happens, you just take a step back, look at your situation, react. You know, like, she jokes like it's hard for us to get on here. A big part of it is because our schedules aren't the same all the time. So just us getting together up until this year where both the kids were in elementary schools, the first time we've been able to like spend time together during the day since Aaron was just a baby and we were bringing him to the gym with us. And so it's been very beneficial to have those SOPs or standard operating procedures and routines and just staying planned ahead so that we don't get caught off guard. The more prepared you are, the less likely you are to run out of food or to run out of money. You know, it's just like she mentioned with macros and dollar bills. If you budget it out ahead of time, then you're not caught off guard whenever something comes up for the most part. And when you are, you just have to do the best you can. And I think not carrying stuff when something doesn't go right is a big part of it too. If something doesn't go right, it's kind of the 5-minute rule or whatever they say. Like, if it's not going to bother you in 5 years, don't waste 5 minutes on it or something. I don't know. There's some cliche, and that's kind of how it is. Like, if it's not really that big of a deal, don't make a mountain out of a molehill.
Absolutely. I got a list of questions here, but I'm gonna go off the script a little bit. Where does your passion come from bodybuilding? I met you last year. I think my first time meeting you last year was actually at Presidential when Eric did it. And then I seen you Yorton last year also. And man, I think me and you was like screaming at the top of our lungs when Eric was on stage for men's physique at the Yorton.
Yeah, somebody told me to sit down.
Where did your passion come from? Because if I rewind, like, was it 3 or 4 years ago, you and Eric also done a live about a certain show and you like backed them up completely. So where did your passion come from the sport, and why do you ride so hard for your athletes?
Man, I really don't know about for the sport itself. Like, it's been something I've liked since I was a kid. I grew up and like, I remember being like 4 or 5 and like coming into the living room and my dad's like standing in his underwear, curling his barbell with his concrete weights with that like ceramic plastic on the outside. If you remember, if you're old enough, you guys might not be, but I just remember being like, man, that's cool. And then I was a jock, man. I played sports at a pretty high level. I swam, I played football, I wrestled, I played baseball. The only thing I didn't do was basketball, which is ironically what my son is doing now, and he loves it. So it's been a learning experience. But as far as bodybuilding, I just have always liked the concept of being able to do what we can do with the human body. And so I've always been passionate about movement, and whether it's athletic or for bodybuilding, I just like sports and human movement in general. That's why I ended up going to school for it eventually. I think the passion that most people see in bodybuilding, it's not for bodybuilding, it's for my clients. And you touched on that at the end. These guys and girls that we coach, we talked about this at our New Year's thing. Eric was there. It becomes so much more than like, hey, what was your week like for your bodybuilding? Like, I get to know these people. And when they go through something, and Marianne gets to know these people, when our clients are going through something, whether it's, hey, I just got diagnosed with X, or, you know, I found out my dog's going to die. Well, it's something simple, you know, these little things that don't have anything to do with bodybuilding or weight loss or whatever their journey is. I get to be a part of that. And I really thrive in those personal relationships. And I enjoy them. Now, there are some times where I'm like, man, if this person calls me one more time with their personal problems, but, you know, like, that's part of my job, and I do enjoy it. And I think that's where my passion comes from, is the relationships I get to build with people. And the other thing is, in the last 10 years since I got out of the Marine Corps, really, I've really tried to focus on finding joy in other people's success, because when I was younger and a little more immature, I wouldn't want people to do good if I wasn't doing good. And I think everybody kind of goes through that, and jealousy can kind of creep in. But I remember being like, man, my table needs to be big enough for everybody to come sit down, as long as they're willing to bring something and contribute and cheer everybody on. But don't sit down at the table if you're going to be negative and try to pull people down with you. It's just like, if you're going to be the guy pulling everybody down, I'm not going to do that. Eric, are you making all these little...
I'm not doing that.
I seen the thumbs up. I see the fire. What y'all got going on?
But my point is, I changed my attitude at a certain point a long time ago to I want to see other people succeed. And when I get to help them succeed, that's a win for me. The highlight of my coaching career, obviously, is seeing Eric win the Yorton Cup. But I have other people that have just gotten on stage.
Not me.
I'm getting there. I have other people that have just gotten on stage. And just by being on stage, it almost means the same thing to me that it does that Eric had his win, but the win I had with Eric, where he won the Yorton Cup, that's a very personal thing for us. Whereas somebody else may not even get on stage, they just lost 100 pounds and they've been trying their whole life, couldn't do it. We did it together. And I have the same amount of, I don't know what it is, gratitude or just that joy it brings me, you know, like I'm very lucky that I have her to help me do this because for the most part at this point in our career, she has those online clients and she runs the laser engraving company at home. But she really holds things together here administratively because I'm constantly with clients. And so the biggest thing for me with passion is building those relationships. But outside of that, like getting to do it with the person that I love more than anybody else in the world, like that's a big deal for me. If Marianne something happened and like she just poof vanished one day, I probably wouldn't do this anymore because I couldn't do it on my own. At least I wouldn't want to.
Absolutely.
She's trying to hold a tear in right now. That's okay.
She probably holding in some cuss words like, yeah, right.
So I have I guess the next question, and I won't have too many more questions, but this question is I always kind of brag about being able to have two coaches. And I know she says mostly she's online and you do more of the in person, but in reality, both of you guys talk to me. Like I developed a relationship with both of you. Like Marianne will tell me not to eat certain things, and then you'll tell me to do this. Like, so how do you guys balance not, I guess, overstepping each other or negating what each other is saying to other clients? I know we're all on the same phone when we're talking, but for other clients, how do you negate that?
That's a good question.
All right, I can answer it, but I don't want to talk the whole time. So give it a shot.
You can throw in your 2 cents. But we both contribute to the coaching of all of our clients. You know that when you email us, he's typically the one that responds to you, and same thing with my clients. Like I'm always the one that responds, but that doesn't mean that we're not both reading it, or if we're not quite sure how to proceed, or if we have to make some hard decisions with adjustments. Like we usually do come together and have those discussions so that way we're on the same page about something before moving forward. It's pretty rare that I will just spit something out without him knowing like what's going on if it's like something critical. But I mean, we both see each other's clients on social media or at shows and stuff like that, and if anybody needs help, like we're always willing to help. But he's not on social media as much as I am, so if I ever see something, I'm like, hey, do you know such and such is doing whatever? Like sometimes I will go ahead and put in my 2 cents, like, hey, why don't you just come in for a posing session? Or does Jeff know you're doing this kind of thing? But I try not to overstep too much. If it's something critical, we usually always talk about it first.
That's what I was going to say is the benefit. In all honesty, man, I don't ever use this as a selling tool because I try not to sell anything. I just tell people like, this is how we coach. This is what I expect from you as my athlete. This is what you should expect from me as your coach. This is what it costs. Yes or no? And like you guys both know people that I have done this with, and they will probably tell you straight up, like, we were on the phone for an hour and he could care less if I work with him or not. And that's kind of offensive to me. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm not, like I said, yes, this is what we do for a living, but like, I don't want to work with people who don't want to work or don't want to trust the process. And so a lot of times the way we bounce stuff off of each other is I'm just working with my clients one-on-one. And then when something happens or I can't figure out, I might be overlooking something or somebody's not losing weight like I think they are, we'll usually come together and be like, all right, what am I doing wrong? Or is this person lying to me? Or is there some anomaly that we can't figure out? And most of the time that doesn't happen with bodybuilders. Our athletes usually are pretty squared away. It's usually our lifestyle clients where we have to come to each other and be like, what am I doing wrong? But I do think that's part of why most of our athletes are stage ready conditioned. Unless they're doing a warm-up show or it's their first time competing. But like our top athletes, those guys are always conditioned, or girls, because one, they've done it with us before, and two, because when it's not working, I don't have to go to the client or the athlete who may not actually be able to give me real objective info, I can go to Marianne and be like, hey, look at these. This was flat Thursday morning, flat Friday morning, Friday evening carved up, Saturday morning. This is what I see. What do you see? And then that, our peaks normally work well because I don't have, anytime I'm like, man, I really am just not sure if I should push anymore. And I don't want to take that chance. I can go to her and have a very professional, objective eye from a judge's table, no less, and say, yeah, push, or no, don't. And then the same thing with her. She'll be like, yeah, I don't know if we give him any more. And I'm like, do it. Like when one of us is confident and says, do this, we don't question each other. And that's the biggest thing. And then if one of us is confident and like, let's say I tell Marianne, hey, 40 more grams of carbs and call it. And she says, okay, and 40 was too much. There's never a like, oh, this was, you should, I blame this on you. Like we own everything as a unit. That's just the way we operate.
And that's another one of those times where we know that sometimes our plans may not pan out, but we always have a backup plan. Like we always know what to do if we push it too far. To at least do as much damage control as possible. Yeah. We can't like straight up undo something, but you always have that in your back pocket if you need to.
All right, so teamwork make the dream work, and everything I gathered from that, Marianne, wear the pants, Jeff. I'm sorry, bud.
Hey, I know how to have a happy marriage, bro. You're not gonna bait me into that one. I'll turn this camera off. I'll set it straight, but not in public.
All right, last question I got for you. Do you think there's pressure this year on bringing Eric back to the Yorton? There's a lot of competition out there. So is there pressure on you guys bringing him right back in for the Yorton to go for that 2-peat? It's never been done in the OCB.
Nah, and I that stuff like that doesn't bother me. I don't really let other people affect how we make decisions with our athletes. I talk to my athlete and figure out what they want, and then I tell them what I think they need. And then if there's a way we can accomplish both, great. If not, then no. But my dude's been working hard for a very long time, and we finally reached the top. And the only way to get knocked off the top is to go back before you're ready. Like if he wants to start a dynasty and win and win and win, all we got to do is put on size and keep coming back conditioned. Nobody's going to outpose Eric Shelton. I will say that. I mean, there are some great posers. There are some great posers in the organizations where we compete. But there's a reason that when I have men's physique guys that I don't want to coach their posing or I'm having a hard time, they already know, hey, call Eric. We need to get you moving right. I genuinely believe that in the men's physique category, he's one of the best posers out there. And because of that, like all we need to do is take our time and grow. And when Eric says, hey, I'm ready to go, if it makes sense, we'll go. If it doesn't, I'll tell him the same thing I told somebody else last year. Like, yo, if you want to compete this year, you can, but I'm not going to coach you because I'm not going to put you on stage when I don't think you're ready. And we tell all of our athletes that. It pisses people off all the time because they'll come to us and be like, hey, it's February. I saw this show in May, the No Gear. I want to do it. And I'm like, not with me, you're not. I've never coached you before. I don't know how your body's going to respond. I don't know how your body responds to food. I have no idea what your training looks like. Like, you giving me 12, 15, however many weeks it is out, like, that ain't enough. I need more time than that to be able to guarantee you that you're going to look good. Now, you can get on stage and look like crap and not care, but we don't do that. I don't want to do that to anybody because it leaves a bad taste in somebody's mouth for the sport. It's a disservice to the athlete. It's disrespectful to the other athletes on stage who have put in the time. Now, it's different if a genetic freak comes up to me and says, hey, I want to do this. Like, okay, cool, we're going to do it.
No, I still got reservations about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to make sense. It's got to make sense. And when I say genetic freak, I'm referring to people that we obviously know.
I have a short and concise, I guess, answer. This one's going to be a short answer, I guess. I ask every coach this, but I think what people don't really realize is you guys aren't really all out in the open about the accomplishments you guys have. I think you guys can correct me. We have well over, 15, 20 plus pros on our team, maybe more.
Never counted.
We don't know, man. People ask us all the time. We're like, we don't bother counting. And this is going to sound offensive to some people, but like when another coach is like, I have so many pros. I'm like, I've been to so many shows where people won pro cards that are never going to even place in the top 5 at a pro show. Like, I don't give a crap about your pro card. And when these organizations, and you guys know me, I'm outspoken about this. When these organizations are like, come get your pro card with us because it's more prestigious than this one over here and this one over here. It's like, dude, you could go to one of the smallest organizations and win a pro card and beat 8 other top athletes because they just happened to be at that show, and then go to one of these huge organizations and win a pro card because there's 3 or 4 competitors and it doesn't have any qualification requirements, and they beat 3 guys who've never been on stage and now they're a pro. You know, it's like, I don't even put any value into that anymore. I want to know how many pro wins somebody has. If you want me to start rating people's value and what's worth it, look at how they compete on the pro level, especially in natural bodybuilding. Especially in natural bodybuilding. And so, like, I don't have any idea how many pros we have. I honestly am not really that concerned. I just want, like, I want our athletes to enjoy the sport and love the sport, but I want them to work their butt off. And, like, they should be trying to win when we're competing. And they know that. Like, I think we started in 2017, and we've had multiple pro cards earned every year since then. So it's got to be over 10 or 15, I'm sure. But I've never really counted. I don't put too much merit into it. I know a lot of coaches with a lot of pros with no pro wins. So, I mean, that exists, like, at the end of the day, man, when my time is done, whoever's at the gates is not going to be like, how many pros did you have on Team Cook Fitness? I want to go and be like, hey, I impacted this many people and brought this many people the message that you commanded me to give. And that's more important. Don't get me wrong. I like it when my guys win. I love it. Winning's great. But there's just more to it than that. And I think that's why we're not influencers and, like, I just don't do all that because that stuff's not important to me. I know I'm supposed to be doing more of it. I'm working on it. I think I posted like nothing this week, so I'll probably have to do something.
Well, you did make a post that you're not posting anymore.
I did say I'm not posting a lot, but responding to other people's messages because everybody just sends me senseless reels all day. It's all my friends from Marine Corps sending me outlandish stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I'll rephrase the question. Can you roughly tell us about, you don't have to give us exact numbers, but I guess what I'm trying to get out there is people see us and we have so many group photos. And when we show up at shows, we show up 10 deep, 20 deep, and people just really don't realize how big Team Cook or how many people you're actually impacting, or both of you guys are impacting. So what number would you give out there of people you probably helped over the year or your team size?
Oh, man. Right now, we counted last week, and we're somewhere between, like, I don't know, if you count all of our online clients, our athletes, people who are in off seasons,
somewhere between 40 and 50.
It's probably like between 40 and 50. And then if you count the people we've helped that are lifestyle clients and we don't work with anymore, man, I've been doing that since 2012. So hundreds, probably in the thousands at this point.
Okay. I think the main reason I asked is just because we have, like, for example, Los mentioned 6 to 10. You got the nonstop, the rare breeds who have, like the 100 plus, and then you have like you guys who do the 40 to 60 range. So then that's the main reason I'm just trying to, I guess, show people like different things. And I know one thing you hinted on, and a lot of coaches hinted on, it's about quality or what you're bringing to the stage.
Mm-hmm.
If you're bringing quality to the stage and can have hundreds of people, that's fine. If you can have, or want to be a little bit more specified to 6 to 10 or 40, because that's, everybody handle a certain amount of clients. So
yeah, I mean, so we're somewhere kind of in the middle, and I tend not to have as many. I have like, well, I actually do have a couple clients that I'm seeing in person, but I think I have maybe 5 or 6 online, because I just feel like that's the most time that I can dedicate without overloading myself. I feel like when we start taking on more clients, like, I don't want the quality of our work to go down if we take too much.
That's what I'm about.
And whenever a big season's coming up and we have a lot of people wanting to compete, we do take into consideration what they're willing to do as far as like traveling goes, because if we can get as many people to the same shows as possible, we try and go to everybody's show if we can. As long as one of our kids doesn't have a sporting event going on, we try and travel to all of our client shows. So if we can take a few at a time to hit a few, then that's preferable. So that way we're not having to split up. I mean, there's been plenty of weekends where he's in Chicago with you and I'm in South Carolina at a smaller no-name show. And
with another athlete.
Right. And like we've split up on several occasions, and we try not to do that. But especially if it's a first-time competitor, I'm not going to not do that. We have to be with them. So we take on as many as we can without sacrificing the quality of our work.
That's what I was going to say. The big part is just making sure I want as many clients as I can possibly work with without the quality of our coaching decreasing. I'm not willing to sacrifice our service for quantity. And I've told several people that, like, hey man, I just can't take you on. You need more attention than I can give you right now as a coach, unfortunately. I had that happen recently. And Eric, you know the guy I'm talking about. He's a young kid. He's gonna be great in the sport, but he needs like hours of attention every week that I don't have the time for. I would love to be able to give that to him, but it's just not possible. And so I told him, like, man, you need to find one of those coaches that has 1, 2, or 3 guys that can respond to your phone calls and your texts all the time so that you can get the quality education out of this that you want. And I think that's probably our biggest thing is educating our clients is why our lifestyle coaching is so successful, because we teach people how to do what we do essentially.
Gotcha. And I told you, I guess I'm gonna wrap it up. But of course, I gave other coaches their flowers, and of course, since y'all are my coaches, I mean, what better time to do this? Of course, y'all been with me since I think 2019, and ever since then, I mean, we haven't placed below the top 5. Ever since that, you know, we accomplished what we came to do from the very beginning. You guys have taught me more than I could ever imagine. You know, even helped me develop my coaching style and how I coach my team. So I took a lot from you guys. I learned a lot from you guys, and I just want to say thank you publicly on live. And yeah, I appreciate y'all time. You know.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I appreciate your loyalty. Hey, real quick before you shut it down, I have a question, Eric. Do you feel pressure to compete at the Jordan this year?
Hey, absolutely not, man. You can't. Hey, you can't get beat if you don't show up, right?
You know, that's why when you asked me that earlier, Jamal, like, nah, I don't care. Do whatever he wants to do. You know, like all my athletes are that way, unless it's somebody who's like, oh, I want to do this show next year. And I'm like, no, because you still got 2 more years of growing. You know, like it's different if they don't fit the category, but when somebody fits the criteria, if they want to do it, we'll do it. But we had a conversation about it, and we think it's advantageous for us to take a year off and really develop some of our, I don't want to call them weaknesses, but just some of the places where we want to bring them up.
So let's see if anybody believes that.
Hey, well, they'll figure it out one way or another, right?
Yeah.
Hey, absolutely. But hey, man, we appreciate y'all. And until next Tuesday, peace.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.